My first thought, as the steering wheel crumpled towards my chest, as the world exploded into screaming metal and glittering glass, wasn't, "Am I going to die?" It was, "My son is going to be furious with me." And the truly pathetic part? I was right. While the EMTs were cutting me out of the wreck, while a stranger was holding pressure on a wound in my arm, my phone was buzzing in the crushed passenger seat, lighting up with his name. Over and over. And when I finally answered, covered in blood and shock, his voice wasn't fear. It wasn't concern. It was pure, unfiltered venom. "You're useless." Today's story isn't just about a car accident. It's about the 30-year crash that led to it. It's about how I, a mother who gave everything, became a servant. And it's about the day I found my justice, not in revenge, but in a single, quiet word. No. Let me paint you a picture of the beginning. A young woman, 24 years old, holding a toddler on her hip in an empty apartment. The silence after the door slams shut is a physical thing. It's the silence of abandoned promises. No goodbye note. No child support. Just gone. And in that vacuum, I made a vow. To my son. To myself. He would never feel less than. He would never want for anything. I would be mother and father. Provider and comforter. I would be a universe for this one small boy. I remember the feel of his small, sleeping body against my chest as I typed late-night freelance work. The taste of cold coffee and swallowed hunger. The sound of my own shoes, the same pair for 5 years, scuffing on the linoleum floor of my second job, while his new sneakers gleamed by the door. The sight of his smiling face at a school play, and the bone-deep exhaustion that made the applause sound like it was coming from underwater. I told myself a beautiful, tragic lie. Love is measured in sacrifice. The more you give up, the more you love. And I gave up everything. My time. My dreams. My youth. My sense of self. It all went into the shrine of him. As he grew, something subtle shifted. The grateful hugs became mumbled greetings. The thank you, Mom, became where's my, the partnership I'd dreamed of, two against the world, slowly morphed into a monarchy. And I was the loyal subject. He married a nice woman. I wept with joy at the wedding. He gets it now, I thought. He's a husband. He'll understand the weight of responsibility of love. How naive I was. Instead of becoming a person to him, I became a function. A utility. Mom, we need a babysitter. Mom, pick up Jack from daycare. Mom, can you cook your lasagna for the party? The requests weren't asks. They were decrees. And the unspoken rule was clear. My life was the flexible one. My plans were the cancelable ones. My feelings were the negotiable ones. I'd lie awake at night, a script running in my head. Maybe if I say no, he'll stop calling. Maybe if I'm difficult, I'll lose my place in his life entirely. Is this the price of love? To be forever convenient, forever available, forever quiet? The resentment didn't come as a storm. It came as a slow drip, eroding my spirit. I became a ghost in my own life, haunting the edges of his. The morning of the accident was a Tuesday. Gray sky. The kind of morning that already feels tired. I had a dentist appointment, my first selfish thing in months. But I'd promised to pick up my grandson, Leo, from preschool at 3 p.m. I texted him, my thumbs tapping a familiar rhythm of reassurance. Headed out early. Running ahead of schedule. I'll be at the school with time to spare. I sent the smiley emoji. The pacifier. Traffic was a solid, angry river of steel. My hands tightened on the wheel. The clock ticked from 2:30 to 2:45 to 2:55. A knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. He doesn't like it when I'm late. He says it's unprofessional, that it stresses Leo. The light ahead turned green. A beautiful, forgiving green. I eased my foot off the brake, a little relief flooding me. Maybe I'd make it. From my left, a blur of grill and steel. A delivery truck, its driver distracted, ran the red. Time didn't slow down. It shattered. The sound. Oh God, the sound. It wasn't a bang. It was a scream of metal being murdered. The sickening crunch pop of my car's frame giving way. The kaleidoscope explosion of the windshield, glass raining down like deadly diamonds. My body was a rag doll in a washing machine. The seatbelt caught me, a brutal embrace that stole my breath. A searing, white-hot pain shot at my arm. Something warm and wet trickled down my temple. Silence. Then the ticking of dying machinery. The smell of burnt plastic and copper.
Blood.
A face appeared at the window. Muffled shouts.
Ma'am.
Don't move. My first coherent thought, clawing its way through the shock and pain, was not I'm hurt. It wasn't even call 911. It was, I'm going to be late. He's going to be so angry. The ambulance ride was a blur of lights and concerned faces. In the ER, under the two bright lights, a doctor with kind eyes spoke to me. Concussion. Deep laceration on the arm. We've stitched it. Severe bruising. You are incredibly lucky. Lucky. I looked at the white bandage, already blooming with a rose of my own blood. I felt the throb in my head, the ache in every muscle. I was given discharge papers and told to rest. I sat on a hard plastic bench outside the hospital entrance, the world tilting slightly. The shock was wearing off, leaving behind a raw, trembling vulnerability. And then my phone, miraculously unharmed in my bag, began to ring. The screen lit up. His name. A name I'd whispered to him as a baby. A name I'd cheered at graduations. Now it pulsed like a warning. My hands, battered and shaking, could barely hold it. I answered. I didn't even get to open my mouth. Where are you? Other parents are staring at me. Leo's teacher is giving me looks. You had one job today. Do you enjoy ruining everything? You are so useless. That word. It hung in the air between us, carried over miles of cellular towers, and plunged straight into my heart. I looked down at my bloody arm, at the hospital bracelet, at my torn clothes. I whispered, my voice to strangers. I was in a car accident. A beat of silence. Then a sound that froze the blood in my veins. Laughter. Short, derisive, cruel. Always the drama. Always the victim. Just stop. I'm tired of it. And in that moment, something broke. Not a bone. Something more fundamental. The last fragile thread of justification I'd been clinging to. He's stressed. He doesn't mean it. He loves me. Snapped. The fear, the guilt, the decades of programmed obedience, they evaporated, leaving only a cold, clear emptiness. For the first time in 30 years, I didn't apologize. I didn't scramble to explain. I didn't beg for forgiveness. I took a breath that felt like my first real one, and I said one word.
No.
And I hung up. The trembling didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. But it was a different kind of shaking. Not from fear. From power. A terrifying, exhilarating power. I sat on that bench as the sun began to set, and I conducted an autopsy on my own life. I saw the crime scene. Every birthday I spent alone because he was busy. Every holiday where I was an afterthought, invited only to cook and clean. Every favor that was really a command. Every time I swallowed my pain to feed his comfort. The villain wasn't just my son. It was me. I had taught him this. With my silence, I taught him my voice didn't matter. With my compliance, I taught him my boundaries were negotiable. With my endless sacrifice, I taught him my worth was solely in what I could do for him. The accident didn't nearly kill me. My own life had been doing that for years. The crash just finally made me look at the dashboard. 2 days later, he came to my house. I hadn't called. I'd simply stopped. I heard his key in the lock. He still had one, of course, and the familiar, impatient footsteps. He walked into the living room, already talking. Mom, you can't just hang up on me and then go radio silent. We need to talk about your overreach. He stopped.
Dead.
His eyes widened, taking in the galaxy of purple and yellow bruising down the side of my face. The stark white bandage on my arm. The dark circles under my eyes that spoke of pain and sleepless nights. His face paled. What happened to you? I looked at him, my son, this stranger I had created. I felt no anger. Just a profound, oceanic sadness. I said calmly, "You already know." He stammered. Blamed work stress, traffic, Leo's tantrums. A torrent of excuses, his eyes darting from my bruises to the floor, unable to hold my gaze. I let him finish. The room was quiet. "I almost died," I said, my voice flat. "And your first and only concern was that I made you wait." He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The excuses had run dry, and for the first time, he was faced with the unadorned, grotesque reality of his own behavior. I took another breath. I won't be picking up Leo anymore. I won't be available on demand. The insults, the demands, the disrespect, it ends today. His shock morphed into anger. A familiar, entitled anger. "You're going to punish your own grandson? Because you're upset? That's selfish." I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. This isn't about punishment. It's about protection. I am protecting myself. From you. The words landed like a physical blow. He stared at me, truly seeing me, not as Mom the Appliance, but as a human being, for perhaps the first time in his adult life. And he saw someone who was no longer afraid of him. He sputtered, threatened, "You'll regret this," and finally stormed out, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the wall shook.
And
I did not chase him. I did not cry. I did not call to smooth it over. I walked to the door, slowly, my body aching. I turned the deadbolt with a solid, final click. The sound wasn't of locking him out.
It was of locking myself in.
To my own life. To my own peace. That was my revenge. It wasn't fiery or public. It didn't ruin his career or his marriage. It was quiet, cold, and entirely internal. The justice wasn't in his humiliation. It was in my liberation. He still calls sometimes. The tone is different now, confused, sometimes pleading, occasionally still tinged with resentment. I answer when I want to. I see my grandson on my terms, in ways that don't leave me feeling drained and used. I still love my son. I probably always will. But I love him from a distance now, from behind a wall of my own making. A wall called self-respect. The car accident showed me my mortality. But my son's cruelty showed me how I hadn't been living at all. I survived both. And the second survival, that's the one that finally made me feel alive. The most satisfying revenge isn't always about making them pay. Sometimes it's about making yourself free. It's about looking at the person who treated you like an option and finally choosing yourself. If this story of quiet rebellion resonated with you, if you felt that click of the deadbolt in your own heart, then do me a favor. Smash that like button. It tells the algorithm that stories with depth and emotional truth matter. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the psychology of relationships, justice, and healing. And most importantly, tell me in the comments below, have you ever had a moment where you finally, after years, chose yourself? What did it look like? Was it a loud explosion or a quiet, firm no? Thank you for listening. Remember, your peace is not a price to be paid for someone else's love. Protect it,